Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Barber. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and we have real NFL football to talk about today. The season kicked off last night, of course, with a very fun divisional rivalry game between the Eagles and the Cowboys. We are going to talk about that. We are also going to later give our week one predictions for every single game on the slate, but we got to start by talking about, Logan, what was a very competitive down-to-the-wire game in which the Dallas Cowboys really had an opportunity at the end to pull off an upset against the Philadelphia Eagles. This game was within one score for the entire 60 minutes, which I think was probably surprising to a lot of people. Philly coming off of a Super Bowl championship, obviously. Dallas sort of in this state of turmoil after a really rough 7-win season, and then they lose Mike, obviously. So with this game being as close as it was, who do you think that said more about?
I think it said more about Dallas. And you know me, Carson. The audience knows me. I am the last guy that's going to give any kind of praise to the Cowboys willingly. But I was really impressed with a lot of what Dallas did, and this felt like a missed opportunity for them. I think that's the exact right way to put it, man. Like, there's a lot of food, it feels like, left on the plate if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Like, you got some leftovers, man, some beef left with Philadelphia, if you will, man. Like, CeeDee Lamb has some big, crucial drops in this game, like game-swinging drops. First, actually, I just want to give credit to Dak. I've been really critical of Dak for a long time. I thought Dak played a really good football game. Honestly, both guys in this football game I've been critical of, Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. I just want to start because I know a lot of people get mad at us for not giving these guys his praise. I thought they both played like top 10 quarterbacks in this football game.
Well,
and
I give Dak lots of praise.
If I know you do, you love him. You have Geno Smith and Dak Prescott plushies.
Maybe.
If they play like this the rest of the year, like, they're definitely bona fide. I was really impressed with both of them. Dak won the mobility, the ability for him to get outside of the pocket off this hamstring injury and create. Early on in this football game, I want to say it was the second or third drive, there's that one play. He has back-to-back really big plays to CeeDee Lamb, but the second one, he shakes off two would-be sackers, big boys on this Eagles line, gets out of the pocket. I mean, he looked like prime Big Ben. Like, that was a really impressive play from Dak. I thought he did a really good job of pushing the ball downfield all game. He's got a big 35-yard DPI penalty to George Pickens. And, I mean, Dak was just slinging it, man.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with Dak. And, I mean, I really have no gripes about his game. I don't think this loss is on him at all. I would put it more on the receivers. Like, it wasn't just CD. I thought he put there's another play later in this game where he puts a ball right in Ferguson's belly, and he can't come up with it in the end zone. And, you know, I know Blankenship is coming across the middle to lay the boom on Ferguson, but that really had no bearing on the outcome of the touchdown play. Like, I really thought Dak made all the plays that he could have to put the Cowboys in position to win this game. And so I would lay this a little bit at the feet of CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys for his drops. And then the Cowboys defense. I thought Eberflus just took a little too long to make that QB spy adjustment on Jalen Hurts. Like, I thought the Cowboys adjusted really well later in the game defensively, but the game plan wasn't as sturdy as it needed to be early on in this game. But I was impressed with Dallas, man, and it does feel like a missed opportunity for Jalen Carter to get suspended on the first play of the game before the first play from the line of scrimmage. Like, you got to have that feeling coming into this game, like, we need to capitalize, we need to throw the first punch, get the leg up on the division and on the reigning Super Bowl champions, and just come up short, man. So it's a stinging loss for Dallas to be this close against such a fierce rival, but all in all, I was impressed, man. The offensive line, the running game, how Dak looked, the adjustments from the defense. Like, even though they lost, I think this was an encouraging game for Dallas.
I think that this game said a little bit of something about both teams, as they often do. But, man, if Dallas could have won this one, I mean, can you imagine? Jerry would have been strutting his stuff, twerking. Like, to get a win like this after all the blowback from the Micah trade, that would have been very good for them down in Dallas, and they just kind of need a moral victory in the sports world. They don't get one here. But overall, I did like what we saw from Dallas. You talk about Dak playing very well. I do think that's the expectation. I just think that Dak is an excellent quarterback. absolutely top 10. And specifically when it comes to his ability to stand in the pocket and be one of the most audacious, aggressive pocket passers. Like, you look at how many big time throws he tried in this game, how many windows he tested, and how many times he put the ball in his receiver's hands. Like, it was very impressive. And yes, some of these are contested catches, some of these are tough catches, but they're the best play available to the offense.
Even the one with CeeDee Lamb up the sideline, like the last play that the Cowboys have for error, that is a makeable catch, you know?
Absolutely. And people who are like, oh, you can't really criticize him for that. It's like, yeah, okay, it would be an impressive catch. He's CeeDee Lamb. Impressive is the expectation. He's a top 5 receiver on the planet. Game on the line. Dak makes a throw like that under pressure. Like, yes, it's your job to make that play, but obviously it's just compounded when, previously, Dak makes that huge throw over the top, hits CeeDee right in the hands. He's behind the defense, would have been like a 50-yard completion. 4 drops for CeeDee on the day. Like, ultimately, it's just on him. This loss is on him. It's pretty simple. If he makes those plays that we expect him to make, Dallas wins this game. So that's disappointing for CeeDee, but big picture, that's a good thing for the Cowboys to have had such a good chance to win this one. Dak, I think, is just pretty damn consistent and stellar. I think that his chemistry with Pickens will improve. I think the offense is going to become less dependent on just CeeDee, because as critical as we can be of the bad CeeDee drops, like, for so much of the night, the Dak CeeDee connection was really the heart of this offense. That's where they were getting so much of their production. Dynamic chemistry out there, Logan. It really reminds me of us watching those two, just Dak sling the rock to CeeDee. It's romantic and it's sexual out there, and it just let them down at the very end. But I think there will be more of like a legitimate high-end wide receiver duo once Pickens is fully comfortable with this offense playing with Dak. And I think this team is going to put up a lot of points, because I was already banking on the passing attack being one of the most effective in football and them throwing the ball a lot. I predicted that Dak would lead the league in passing yards this season. What I liked in this game, though, the offensive balance was better than I expected. They were able to run the ball quite successfully in the first half. Now, that did stall out in the second half. Obviously, everything offensively just came harder for them in the second half. The offensive line, I thought, was fine in this game. Again, they had some more issues in the second half dealing with Philly dialing up the pressure. So I'm not ready to make any definitive statements, right? Like, yes, Javonte Williams has the 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Miles Sanders has a really big run that he breaks off for 49 yards. But it's not like they put together a consistent 4 quarters with the run game. Nevertheless, it was a better start than I would have expected. Even knowing that Jalen Carter isn't out there, I didn't think that they would just be able to kind of run the football up the gut like this for any extended stretch of this football game, because last year this was one of the worst run games in the NFL. So an improvement there is encouraging, and I think this team is going to put up a lot of points. I think it is going to come down to the defense, where I do still have some concerns, even though they stepped up in the second half too.
I think so, too. I'm really encouraged with this Dallas offense. One, the offensive line blew me away. This is a unit that they've invested in a lot over the past, 4 years, a lot of first-round picks up there. And I said in preseason that I thought this unit was going to be better than people expected, and I thought they performed pretty well. Talent-wise, Javonte Williams looked like he had some pop. It sucks for them that Sanders fumbles the ball later on that drive after the 50-yard gain, because literally – that is the game-swinging play here. That turnover pretty much changes the tide. Also, man, Carson, I don't know how you felt. I thought we kind of got robbed of what may have been a classic if we didn't get that rain delay, dude, because I think that little break gave these teams, one, anytime that happens, like, your bodies cool off, it's like a reset. You're literally restarting the football game. But two, I think it gave a lot of these coordinators, especially defensively, time to go, hey, this is what they're doing. We're going to do this, this, and this. And that's why I also thought you saw the defenses tighten up, because if we don't get that break, man, I wonder if it's just open season.
0 stops in the first half, 1 score in the second half, and it was a field goal. So definitely I thought we saw both defenses really take their level up in the second half. And like I said, I think you have to give the Cowboys credit for that. I mean, the run defense really stepped up in the second half. I thought Kenny Clark, obviously a nice addition there. I thought Marshawn Nealon made some plays. And I thought the pass coverage for Dallas was good, which, like, you should expect when Diggs and Bland are healthy. Kyer Elam does let up the 1 bomb. I'm not going to lie. Elam being in such a prominent role, that's very concerning to me. He is absolutely terrible. And I understand that even his position wasn't bad on the bomb that he did allow necessarily, but nevertheless, like, you got to make a play there. You let up the one explosive pass play of the day. Not just that, like literally the one downfield pass play of the day. So having watched a lot of him, he's a very bad cornerback. He should not be playing a significant role. But again, overall, the pass coverage was good. They really held the premier receivers in check for Philly, which we'll talk about more later. But they really struggled to get pressure with a four-man rush. And, like, this is the most obvious joke of all time that everybody's making. But, like, imagine if they had the premier pass rusher. It really is so true, though. The first half, they couldn't get any pressure. And throughout this game, I mean, the inability to contain Hurts in the pocket, and I do give him credit for making timely plays with his legs over and over again, but horrible contain, as you mentioned repeatedly, like the lack of a spy in these big spots. And then I did think Eberflus made some nice adjustments. I thought the corner blitzes were able to affect Hurts and make a couple of big plays for that defense in the second half, but like, you can only mix those in so often, right? It's just so risky that can't be the bread and butter of your defense. And I just worry about how they're going to be limited if they have one of the worst four-man pass rushes in football. And at the end of the day, it just came down to the fact that, like, big spots, they couldn't keep Hurts in the pocket, and he kept beating them with his legs. And that's where they lost this game. They lost it in the red zone. They lost it on third down. It was just too easy for him to get out and use his legs. And in the first half, obviously, they were just getting marched on, but they were also putting up points in a big way in their own right. But this is going to be the calculus with Dallas. How much is very good offense offset by below average defense? Like, does feel like they're just going to be a pretty average team.
It does. I mean, it's hard to overcome some of those limitations, and I think the pass rush is the biggest one. The pass rush and then the secondary, not even the secondary, because like you said, I thought they played well, but literally Elam sucks. I didn't know that guy was still in the league, man. I didn't know he had a job.
Shouldn't be.
Hurts was a big-time difference maker for Philly, though, man, and I'm impressed. Like, the off-script stuff when they didn't have spies on him, it was a lot of that, too. Like, that was the majority of the Eagles' offense, it felt like, tonight. I mean, he outrushes Saquon in this game. There wasn't a ton of passing windows. I mean, a lot of his offense in this game is underneath stuff to Goddard and checkdowns and stuff like that. But it was enough. I mean, he kept the chains moving. And then in the red zone, they just couldn't hold him. So this is an encouraging game. One, before I start talking about the defense, one of the plays that the Eagles called in this game got me really aroused, man. On the first drive for the Eagles, that fake trap halfback toss had me feeling some type of way, man. They pull the left guard, and I remember when we were at journalism school, man, if you were taking a sports photography class, they always tell you, you follow the guards because the guards are going to tell you where the play is going. And so when I saw the left guard pull, I'm like, oh, they're just running a trap to the right side. Literally, they run 3 offensive linemen to the right side, and then they throw a toss with 2 offensive linemen for Saquon for like 16 yards. Brilliant play calling from Philadelphia, and I think this offense is going to look better, but the defense is where I think I'm more worried about it for Philadelphia. And I think Collinsworth kind of hinted on this on the broadcast, but they had 10 players lost on their defense, which is the most by a Super Bowl champion ever. Milton Williams to the Patriots, Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, Darius Slay to Pittsburgh, C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Texans, Brandon Graham retires, and then in this game, Nakobe Dean is still injured. He tore his patellar versus Green Bay in the playoffs. He's supposed to be back week 5, and then, of course, Jalen Carter gets ejected before this game begins, so a lot of roster turnover. The one guy I was super impressed with, as always, all-pro linebacker Zach Bond, I thought balled out in this game. Just everywhere, tackles for loss, blowing up runs. I had a huge PBU in the end zone on Jake Ferguson to spoil a touchdown. And now I think that is what is going to be the thing to monitor with this Philadelphia team and just how great they can be. This is now the youngest defense in the NFL, and they've certainly got a lot of talent, but they lost a lot. And, I mean, it's just hard when you go from being the most talented unit maybe in all of football to not average. I still think they're probably like top 10 there, but they did lose a lot of guys. And so it's just going to take time, right, where it's like a continuity and chemistry thing where I'm not saying this unit couldn't be elite like they were last year. I just think it's going to take some weeks. The guy is Adoree Jackson. And, I mean, I thought that was evident from drive 1 for the Cowboys to the end of this game. Burnt toast, man. CD was eating his lunch, and he just looked old. Like, I thought the rest of the unit looked pretty good, all things considered. Like I said, especially Zach Bond, Jordan Davis. I let you felt those guys' impact, but Jackson was getting cooked, man, and he seems like the weak spot the teams are going to pick on the rest of the year. And that secondary a little bit is what I'm worried about. But all in all, I'm confident. I think Philly's going to be really good again this year, but that's the one spot where that would be my one red flag after game one that I'm a little bit worried about Philadelphia.
I think you got to point it out. And, I do think that the raw passing yards total for Dallas undersells the effectiveness of their passing attack because, boy, there were some big-time penalties. And those yards ultimately count the same. They just don't show up on the stat sheet. And Adoree definitely did get burnt a few times there. There were a number of vertical passing attempts for Dallas that were there, and either there was a penalty or a dropped ball by a receiver.
Also, because I didn't say this, but now that Pickens, one, has a real quarterback throwing him the football, and two, he's alongside another number one, bro, that's like almost a super spammy cheese play that you could run every drive. Is literally shot up the sideline to George Pickens one-on-one. Cornerbacks cannot guard George Pickens one-on-one. Like, the reason Jackson was holding him in the end zone and holding him on that, he's going to catch the ball. Like, you have to do that to Pickens to stop the big gain, so yeah, I think that connection is going to get better and better as the weeks go on, man. You can't guard him in single coverage.
You can't. And Dak Prescott, man, what a player. I mean, we really can't talk enough about Dak's mobility, his sack evasion in this game. Are you kidding me? 2 times. There were multiple guys who got their hands on him. They couldn't bring him down. And not just that, he makes a play. I mean, you mentioned the throw that he makes rolling back to the left after 2 guys are trying to wrap him up. Oh, nice game for Dak. Nice game for Dak. Dak, man, he just gets so much ridiculous hate, so much silly hate. I saw somebody the other day compare Dak, first of all, to James Harden as if that was like an insult. And I said, look, if we're comparing Dak to James Harden, I mean, I like Dak. I'm not such a big Harden guy, but that's a compliment. James Harden is one of the 30s, probably greatest NBA players ever, 30-something. So respect Dak Prescott is the theme of the day. But for the Eagles defense, I think that is definitely a good thing to point out, the question about Adoree at corner. And then overall, the losses do add up. And obviously, Jalen Carter just compounds that. But depth up front is so important in today's NFL, right? When guys are rotating up there more than ever before. And that was Philly's superpower, to have the number of big bodies on the interior and to have the number of quality edge rushers that they have had. And now you lose Josh Sweat, who was that big impact guy for them in the Super Bowl and was just pretty consistent overall. And you lose Milton Williams. Yes, now the loss of a Jalen Carter, which is always going to be significant, is even more significant. And you felt like the ability of Dallas to just run the ball down their throat was concerning, and it spoke to the fact that depth on the defensive front has been diminished a bit. But overall, I do want to give props to the Philly defense in the second half, because without arguably their best player, they were able to really ratchet up the pressure in the second half. I thought that the coverage improved in the second half, although, as you mentioned, there were still some opportunities for shot plays. And I thought the run defense really stepped up in the second half, where it was surprising how much they were getting run on in the first half. They really tightened that up. But even with Jalen Carter, I just don't think this defense is quite as stacked as last year. And I do think you felt that. For half of this game, Dallas was pretty much moving the ball at will through the air, if it was penalty yardage or on the ground. And we're just not used to seeing that against this Philly defense that was so stellar down the stretch last year. So I thought this was an unimpressive debut from the Eagles. Offensively, I thought the run game was just okay. And the passing game was really anemic, man. They had the one big chunk play. That was their only pass completion of more than 10 yards in the air. 12 of 19 completions in this game were for 5 air yards or fewer. Devontae and AJ had 24 combined yards. So really, everything was kept underneath. And I do think that as a passer, Hurts really wasn't able to do anything versus pressure. He did look panicked against a couple of those cornerback blitzes. He wasn't really working through his progressions, but at the end of the day, what he was able to do over and over again is get 4 or 5 yards with his legs when they needed it and convert third downs and convert in the red zone. And they had 0 turnovers to Dallas's 1. Dallas just had more missed opportunities. They had more drop balls. They had the fumble in the red zone, and that's what this came down to, and that was enough. And we know that with Philly last year, like, it didn't always look pretty for them, especially early in the year. There were a lot of stretches of last season where the passing offense was really lackluster. And yet they still managed to go 18-3 last season because of special defense and a special run game. And there's nothing wrong with winning games when you don't have it all going in the NFL. In fact, like, that's what you have to be able to do in a 17-game season. And I did think this was an instance of that for the Eagles. And they've been pretty darn good at that over the last few years, finding ways to win even when they do have certain limitations in that game. But nevertheless, like, this didn't look like the team that we saw finish the 2024 season when they were just in such dominant form, and their ability to be close to that is going to come down to if the run game and if the defense can reach close to those same heights, which are really, really high bars that were set because Saquon Barkley just had a 2,000-yard season, and that defense was easily the best in football for 3/4 of the year. And I don't think that they're hitting those bars. I don't think they're replicating that success in either of those areas from last year, but I do still think they're going to be pretty damn good in both, and I don't think there's an overreaction to be had here. I expect the Eagles to be a top 3 team in the NFC. This is what a kind of shaky game from them often looks like offensively, at least, and defensively they are without probably their best player for most of the game, and they found a way to win. So that's something, but it wasn't the sort of statement win that I think they were probably hoping for coming into the year.
Yeah, certainly not what I was expecting either from Philly. Well, we'll see what they look like at full strength when Jalen Carter doesn't spit on the opposing team starting quarterback.
When he doesn't hawk two on that thing.
Bruh.
Have you seen that meme?
Oh, my God.
There's this girl, and it's a street interview. You've seen these street interviews? And he goes up and he goes, "What's one move that makes them all go crazy in the bedroom?" And she goes, "You hawk two on that thing."
All right, so anyway, the only other thing that I'm
Women
worried
these
about
days, man, where do they get them? Wow. This is not your grandmother's America. Holy crap.
The only other thing I'm worried about with Philadelphia is Landon Dickerson leaving the game early with an injury. He had surgery on his meniscus in the offseason, and he's an all-pro caliber guard, so I'm hoping he comes back. He's crucial to this team's offensive success. I do want to give Hurts credit. Even though Hurts didn't have a ton of stuff over the top, I thought he managed the game really well and made good decisions and consistently kept the Eagles ahead of the sticks, and sometimes that's all you can ask in certain games, and he kept drives alive. He was effective in the red zone, so even though the passing totals need to certainly get ratcheted up, and I think that's going to be an aspect that the Eagles need to tap into in games that are more like shootout-based, I thought Hurts did a really good job of managing the game and just keeping them ahead of the sticks, which, again, sometimes it's all you need to do and all you can do, and it's enough to win, which it was in this game. But, yeah, I'm going to keep it a buck. I was expecting a dominant, kind of ass-kicking from Philadelphia, and we didn't get that.
No, we didn't, but sometimes you manage the game and you find a way, and that's what Philly did in this one. And, look, I think we do have to understand that, this Dallas team is solid. And I think that offense could be really potent, which is why, I just can't get over the fact that they bailed on the Dak, CD, Micah core. I looked it up. When all three of those guys played, when they were all healthy together, they were 31-15, man. I mean, you're talking about an 11-12 win pace there for multiple years. For the 3 years that all of those guys were mostly healthy, Dallas was first, fourth, and first in points per game, and they were a top 7 scoring defense each year. You really do look at this team and you think with an elite pass rusher, they would be a very legit team. I mean, I think that I probably sold short even before the Micah trade, the sort of bounce back that they could have this year with him still on the field. But for now, I think we know what we're going to get from Dak. We know what we're going to get from the passing attack. It's going to come down to the run game and the defense. And I think the debut was encouraging for those aspects in some ways, but also I think it was a mixed bag for both. And I don't think we can really say too much definitively after the one game. But those are going to be the limitations.
I agree. Not to beat a dead horse, but, I mean, when you do pay CeeDee Lamb that massive percentage of your cap, he's got to make those plays, man. That's a difference.
Yeah, and I am just very adamant about the fact I will always pay a top-of-the-line edge rusher over a top-of-the-line receiver. I just think it's more impactful, man. Pressure dictates games, and great quarterbacks elevate receivers. There's no replicating, there's no supplementing a truly great pass rusher. So that one is going to continue to hurt, I think, for Dallas fans. But solid debut, although ultimately a painful loss. Let's start looking ahead, Logan. We got a banger slate of games this week, honestly. A lot of fun ones. So we're going to go in depth with a handful of these, and then we're just sort of going to roll through the rest because you and I are going head to head this year, Logan. We're going to have a competition. We haven't done this in the last couple years, but we have done it before. We are going to predict every single game of the NFL season. So we're both starting 1-0. We both had the Eagles on Thursday night. Loser's going to have to do some sort of punishment, but last time I gave you a punishment, it was a great one, and you never did it. So what's my incentive to do it? I don't know. The fact that I'm an honorable man, that I have principles, that I believe in entertaining the people. We'll decide on that later, but for now, we're going to be picking every single game of the season straight up. Not necessarily always on the pod, but there will be a graphic every Sunday morning that will have all of our predictions. And that begins now, Logan. So, first game after, of course, last night's on the slate, we've got Chiefs-Chargers tonight. This is in Brazil. We know how weird the Brazil game was last year. What are your keys? What's your prediction here?
This is going to be a funky-ass game. Anytime – the games in Brazil are so weird, and I am just praying to the football gods above that the field is good, that the conditions on the field are not absolutely rancid. Like,
yeah,
I've said this a million times on this show when we come back to football season. The fact that these owners put millions and millions and billions of dollars into these football players and organizations, and we can't invest in the fields that they play on for their safety and health is absolutely egregious. So that's the first thing I'm looking for in this game. What are the turf conditions? Did you guys actually make sure that it's safe for these guys to play on? So I'm just hoping for clean bills of health in this game. These games are always weird in different environments. The first thing I'm looking at for the Chiefs side, and maybe we're not going to get definitive answers on this because of the Chargers pass rush, but I'm really looking at this offensive line and how effective they're going to be with the turnover. I feel like I know what I'm going to get from Pat Mahomes, and I think him and Xavier Worthy are going to have a breakout season. I really think Worthy is going to be great. When Rashee Rice comes back later in the year, I think this passing attack is going to be dynamic. Like, Worthy's an explosive play hitter. Rashee Rice is a bona fide number one. Kelsey is still really solid, and you know what he brings to the table. So, I know what I'm getting out of those guys. The variables with the Chiefs are the offensive line, with the loss of Tooney, with guys playing out of position. They're not dominant the way they once were. And so I want to see, is this team going to be able to actually legitimately establish the run this season and not just burn clock? Because that's what this offense was last year. We can dress it up however we want. This team played ball control football. They weren't dynamic. Mahomes wasn't slinging the hell out of the ball, running up point totals. It was defense. It was ball control. It was burn clock. But it wasn't an effective rushing attack. So I want to see, are the Chiefs actually going to be able to run the football, and how does this offensive line look in week one versus the Chargers? And then for the Chargers, I want to see how they strike the balance in week one for me against Kansas City. And what I mean by that is, similarly to Kansas City last year, they were a very heavy run attack. I want to see, how often is this team dropping back and letting Herbert sling it and try to make big plays? Are they going to handcuff him and try to keep him limited? Because that is what they did last year. They played really... And don't get me wrong, it's a really good way to win football games, but I don't know about you, Carson. I want to see Justin Herbert unleashed a little bit more this year. And it was effective last year. I don't want to act like it wasn't. They won a bunch of games. They were the most successful they've been in the Herbert era. I want to see this team put up some more points this year, and I want to see how dynamic that passing attack looks.
Interestingly, I actually feel like the biggest opportunity maybe for this Chargers offense to improve is just being more efficient in the run game, because yes, they ran the ball a good bit, but now you bring in Omarion Hampton, like there's just more talent in the backfield there. And so I think that's a key area to look for. How impactful is he in the run game? And then I think that Herbert was very, very good at his job last year. Yes, there wasn't a ton of explosives through the air necessarily. This wasn't one of the upper echelon NFL offenses, but they were a pretty good offense, and they were a pretty good offense because of Justin Herbert really tying the passing game together with very limited weapons. So it'll be interesting to see what does Keenan Allen look like back in this offense. Like, I think Herbert's a guy you can consistently bet on to elevate his pass catchers. And overall, I'm interested in what the Chargers offense looks like exactly because obviously they're without Slater. That's a devastating loss on the offensive line. But now they have Mekhi Becton. How much can he do for that interior offensive line, protecting against a scary interior pass rusher like Chris Jones, getting some push up front for the run game? That's certainly something to watch. Overall, I'm expecting this game to be kind of weird just because it's in Brazil. And when things are weird, I'm going to bet on the most consistent team in football. And I'll bet on Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Spags, Chris Jones. But I think that this is going to be a very fun game, and I think that this should be a pretty even and competitive game. Rashee Rice obviously out. You mentioned we're going to get a new look at that Chiefs offensive line. We'll see if Tui Pelotu and Khalil Mack can get pressure. That could be a potential area that LA could swing this game. But ultimately, I don't have enough faith in them being really disruptive there. Chiefs have owned this head-to-head. They've won 7 straight games. So I'm expecting a very good one. High-level quarterback play, 2 really good coaches, should be 2 well-prepared teams. I think that this is probably Chiefs by a field goal, probably like 27-24, something like that.
That's about where I was at. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this as well. I mean, in individual games, I feel like 99% of the time I'm going to take the team with Patrick Mahomes. And I am worried about the Chargers secondary, specifically the cornerbacks. I'm not a big fan. Dante Jackson was on my team. He's a good third corner, slot corner. He is starting in this game, and so no hate on him. He was good for the Steelers, but I don't know if he's a number one in this league, and I think he could be tested against a guy like Mahomes. So I'd say the Chiefs by like 4 or something like that, but I am expecting a good one.
Interestingly, that puts us, I think, on opposite sides of who's going to cover because I think the line is at 3.5. Let's go to a premier matchup on Sunday. Lions at Packers. Logan, our respective NFC North winners, you having Detroit, me having Green Bay, already doing battle in week 1. What are your keys for this one?
I'm super excited for this game. One, I think we have to mention it. Micah Parsons, it's unknown if he's going to play in this football game. He's still dealing with that back injury. He said he's going to let the staff and the team determine if he's ready to go for this one. If he is,
he's going to play.
He's probably going to get an epidural shot in his back to get him good to go, get him some of that good, numb him up for the game if he plays.
Mm-hmm.
But
Perk Rogers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Perk Rogers.
Green Bay, they've got the best
backflips.
Stuff.
Clearly
That's actually got the best stuff.
I hadn't thought about that. They give him the Perk 70, he's going to be good to go.
The Perk 100 if I was in charge.
So that's up in the air. I think that's a big swing thing. Obviously, they give up Kenny Clark to go and get him, so it would be nice to have him, not just swapping out a starter for nothing week 1. What I'm looking at for Detroit in this football game, one, I want to see what Aiden Hutchinson looks like his first game back healthy, coming off of a major lower leg injury, if he's still got that kind of pop. And then I'm really intrigued about this Green Bay offense, man. This is a really good Detroit defense. They were banged up at the end of last year. They're back healthy. Obviously, new coordinators. It's going to be a new look, everything for Detroit, not in terms of talent, but in terms of schematics, what they're doing offensively and defensively. But I'm really intrigued to see what Green Bay does with Matthew Golden in at wideout, Josh Jacobs at running back. Jacobs dominated last year. This offense was great. So, yeah, I just want to see what kind of balance they strike and how effective their passing attack can be with a guy like Matthew Golden in. I think this is going to be high scoring, man. I think we're looking at 25-plus points from both teams. I think a bit of a shootout. So I'm going to take Detroit to win this one by like 3. I think it is a nail-biter. I think it's super close. I'm going to take the more talented team, and like you said, I do have this team winning the division, so I'm going to take them to start off the season with a leg up on Green Bay.
Huge opportunity for an early swing game in the Nerd Sesh head-to-head battle here. I'm going to take Green Bay. Now, this is definitely contingent upon Micah playing, But I do think that Micah is going to play, and I just think he makes such a world of difference for this Green Bay team. And I feel like the Lions aren't going to be their peak selves in week 1. I've talked about this, but just undergoing the double coordinator changes, the offensive line changes, losing Ragnow and Zeitler, like there's a lot in flux for them. And yes, they've got a great culture and whatnot. And actually, they do still have a lot of the same core pieces, but nevertheless, some moving parts there where I just feel like they're more likely to pick up momentum a little bit later in the year. And of course, I just love the Packers, dude. I've become a big Green Bay glazer ever since they added Micah. They're my pick to go to the Super Bowl. And if you look at the head-to-head matchups between this team last year, if you just look at overall the Packers' strengths and ultimately their limitations on the defensive side of the ball, they were a brilliantly schemed defense. And that's why they were upper echelon in like all these different statistical categories, right? They were very good against the run. They were pretty good against the pass. They forced a shit ton of turnovers. Just lots of good stuff, stunts, simulated pressures, creating confusion defensively. And so they ended up being, I believe, the number 6 defense in terms of points allowed per drive. But against some of these elite teams, they were just limited by talent. And specifically, they were limited by the lack of an elite pass rusher. Now you have Micah Parsons, who has been very arguably the best pure pass rusher in football overall since he set foot in the league, and does have that title right now. So I just think he could break this game.
No, that's
wide
Myles
open.
Garrett, man. That's Myles Garrett.
Purely as a pass rusher?
Yes,
Micah's
Myles
got more
Garrett.
pressures. He's every bit as consistent in terms of sack production. He's got a higher double team rate.
It's Myles Garrett.
I don't know how you can just say that like it's clear. Micah is 3 years running led the league in pressures or pressures per game, which is what he did last year every single time.
Myles Garrett is better. Myles Garrett.
He's a better football player because of the run defense. Micah is one of the most explosive, bendy
Micah's a good
dudes.
run defender too. Yeah, I
He
get
is,
it, man.
But Myles is a better run defender.
Myles is a monster. Myles is the best edge rusher in football.
You are just edging to pictures of him being jacked as shit. That's what this is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Did you see, dude? I think Tirico, like a minute into the game, dropped edging.
Yeah, he did. He also called Jalen Hurts Prescott like 4 straight times across 2 separate plays. Shout out to Mike Tirico, everybody's favorite Italian. I am very high on Micah. I think it's a very real conversation when you're talking about best pass rusher. Is it him or is it Myles Garrett? I might take Micah. I think it's very close. I think at least you got to be able to make the argument. And so that changes things. I mean, this is a guy who has had more success against Penei Sewell than I think anybody else in football. Like, he's one of those guys who literally one-on-one against anybody can win consistently. And that's just a totally game-changing element for this Green Bay defense. So both teams now, you look at, they have an A-plus pass rusher, right? They have that ability to create disruption up front. And then when I look at the quarterbacks who have to deal with that, I prefer Jordan Love's ability to deal with that pressure, to evade sacks, to create out of structure. And overall, like, I like Green Bay's upside for big plays on defense here. I think that that's something that they're very good at creating with the schematic stuff, but then also now having, I mean, obviously Micah is outstanding, but also Rashawn Gary is your second pass rusher. I do like, I really love their coaching. I think as of now, that's an advantage for them in this matchup because LaFleur is an A-plus offensive mind, and I think Jeff Hafley really did an incredible job with this defense last year. With Detroit, I just don't know. The coordinators are currently unproven, so we'll see. And then I know, like, Green Bay's going to be able to run the ball consistently. They should. They're at home, so that's an advantage for them. They've been really, really good at home in recent years. So I'm going to take the Packers. I think obviously we're looking at a heavyweight fight here. I think this is going to be a very good game, but ultimately I just feel like they check a couple more boxes for me. These are 2 very complete teams, but I like the coaching for Green Bay. I like the quarterback play, the versatility in terms of the number of ways that they can win. Let's move on to a battle between the Houston Texans and the Los Angeles Rams here, Logan. This one going to be played in L.A. Who do you like here?
I like the Rams. All that I'm looking at in this football game is basically the Texans' offensive line. Like, I'm pretty confident in a lot of the things that we're getting with both of these teams. The pass rush for the Texans, I think, is going to be hellacious all year with Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, right? Like, I think the secondary is going to be awesome with Lassiter and Stingley. With the Rams, right? You've got Devontae and Puka and Kyron Williams, and the offensive line is ready to go again. And Stafford. Like, there's a lot of things that I feel like are known commodities in this game. The one unknown, the one big, massive swing factor for the Houston Texans in their season this year is going to be, can they protect C.J. Stroud up front? Can this offensive line stay alive? And two, can they supplement that at all with any kind of a run game, right? I believe Mixon is going to be out for this game, and so I think we're looking at, oh my God, man. We're looking at Nick Chubb getting starting running back touches, and I could not believe that Chubb got a contract with another team, and I love Nick Chubb, man. Nick Chubb was awesome. Unfortunately, when Minkah Fitzpatrick broke his leg, like, he just lost it, and that's what happens with running backs, man, especially old running backs. When you suffer a leg injury at that old of an age, and Chubb wasn't even one of those, like, explosive kind of twitchy guys when he played, right? He was a bowling ball, and so when you take – he was a bowling ball with a lot of tread on his tires already, and when you zap and that explosiveness that he did have, he's just ineffective. Now he's just slow and big, and so – I'm worried about this running game, man. I'm worried about the offensive line keeping C.J. Stroud up standing. And that's extra problematic to me, Carson, when you were facing a young, hungry Rams defense in pass rush. Yeah. Like, you got Jared Verse coming at you. You got Braden Fisk coming at you. You got Turner. You got Young. I mean, there's a lot of young talent that I like on the Rams defensive front. And so that's the proposition that the Texans are going to be faced with. I'm nervous. I'm worried for them, and so that's a big red flag for me. I think the Texans, over the course of the season, are going to be able to overcome it because that's how much I believe in C.J. Stroud. But I think week one they get got, and I think it bites them on the ass. So I'm going to take the Rams. I like their quarterback, and I like that defensive front, and I certainly like that offensive line more. So I'm going to take the Rams.
I'm going to take the Rams as well here. I am much higher on them between these two teams, and I think they're just going to destroy that Houston offensive line. I think that that's probably the worst offensive line in football now with how bad they already were, and then losing Laramie Tunsil, I am deeply concerned. I think we're going to see the Rams get a shit ton of pressure. This was a ferocious pass rush, and they peaked at the right time last year. I mean, if I remember correctly, 14 sacks in their 2 playoff games, and they were going up against 2 guys who like to take sacks, who like to hold on to the ball in Sam Darnold and Jalen Hurts, although Hurts obviously has the mobility factor that does make him more difficult to bring down, but like just incredible sack production, incredible pressure that they were able to consistently generate. And that defense, young, peaked at the right time late last year. They were really, really good down the stretch, held 4 of their last 6 opponents to single-digit scoring. I think that they improve overall this year. They bring that momentum into this season. And then I look at Houston, and it's like Christian Kirk is out for an already thin wide receiver room. Like, there's a lot riding on Jaden Higgins, and I know a lot of people are high on him, but that's a lot of pressure on just him and Nico in this room right now. And LA just has a much more balanced offense. Like you mentioned it, this run game for Houston could be absolutely disgusting. It could be abhorrent. It was already not good last year, and now you're without Mixon. The offensive line is even worse.
The funniest thing is, like, when I'm building out a roster, theoretically, right, in my head, I would want my lead guy who can do a little bit of everything in the running game, or I'd want a power back and a scat back, you know, like the Lions have with Montgomery and Gibbs, a little lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
The Texans just have the exact same guy, but in different form. You know, it's like Mixon's
the disrespect Dare as a pass catcher.
All right, I'm just saying, like,
Ogunbowale can catch himself a pass, man.
It's so funny to me that their loadout is Mixon, Chubb, Pierce. It's like, wow, the 3 horsemen of 3.5 yards per carry. Like, that's awesome, man. Just slow, methodical. Mixon's actually, like, still good, but it's so funny to me that those are the backups, man. Like, I actually can't believe Pierce and Chubb still have jobs. I just think that they're both cooked.
Yeah, it sucks, man. For running backs, it happens so fast. Shout out Nick Chubb. Fly high, my glorious, beautiful angel. King Dove. What an incredible peak he had. But it is totally over. So that's just a major red flag for Houston. This is why I'm out on Houston this year. This is why I don't have them making the playoffs. I look at their offense and I think every fucking drive is going to be, CJ, please save us. We can't protect for you and we can't run the football, but maybe you and Nico could make something happen. And as much as I like him and Nico, I don't like that formula for 4 quarters, for 17 weeks. The Rams, like, it's not like Stafford just has to drop back and pass 40 times against an elite pass rush, because both these guys are facing elite pass rushes, but one of these offenses actually has multiple paths to success. I like the Rams' run game a lot more. I think Kyron Williams is very good. Their efficiency dipped last year. I think that had to do with a lot of injuries to the offensive line, not having as cohesive a group there. I think that'll be better this year. I like certainly their line a lot more compared to Houston's. I like their receivers more. I think that the Devontae Puka 1-2 punch, like, that is going to be incredible. By the way, Puka is the number one out of those two, but both of them going to be awesome. And I like their quarterback more, as much as I like CJ. Like, Stafford is just such a high-level processor, high-level arm talent. They're just a more complete team. They're at home. This is pretty easy for me. And honestly, out of these, like, premier matchups, if one of them were going to get ugly, this would definitely be the one that I would pick for the Rams. Let's talk about the Sunday night game, Logan. To me, this is the biggest one of the week. Could be one of the biggest and best games of the year. We've got a Ravens-Bills rematch in Buffalo. Obviously, a highly contested divisional round game in the playoffs last year went to the Bills. What do you see going down this time, and what are the keys to this one?
Yeah, I've got it flipped. I've got the Ravens taking this. I think they're going to exact revenge on Buffalo. I hate making it come down to something like this, but to me, I think the Ravens want to get their revenge. Like, I think they have more to prove tonight. One, the Ravens got out to an incredibly slow start last season, which I don't think they want to dig themselves a hole. They were in some really close games to begin the year, lost them. They know how important it is to get started out hot. And then in the playoffs, just, couldn't get it done and came so close against Buffalo. Lamar, the early turnover, Mark Andrews drops the 2-point conversion, like, to come so close. I just think Baltimore feels like they've got a little bit more to prove. And I think this is, a battle of the heavyweights. This is what I have being the AFC title game later in the season. That's where I have the Bills winning. But both of these units are so strong. For me, I think the difference probably is going to be the Bills' secondary. Actually, let me be clear about something. The swing factor to me probably is going to be the turnover battle. I think if one of these teams blinks, the other is probably going to lose. If Lamar fumbles, Bills are going to win. If Josh turns the ball, I really think when two teams are this great, I think that's probably going to be the margin, something as simple as that. But when I look at these teams, the only real weak spot when I look at them would be the Bills' secondary, in which I'm a little bit worried about. And I think Lamar can actually exploit that. He took a leap 2 years ago as a passer. He took another leap into the best of the best as a passer last year. And so I think he's going to continue to get better, and I think he can actually make the Bills pay for that. Along with that, too, I think they can do a much better job in this game of weaponizing the Henry Lamar running game, which I didn't think they did a good enough job against the Bills last time. The Bills do have a good run defense, but I'm going to try to get as much juice as I can out of those two guys because they're so dominant. But I just think Lamar makes a few more plays than Josh. I think we are due for, like you said, man, maybe a game of the year kind of candidate. It is always fireworks when two teams of this caliber play, and so I'd say I'm going to take the Ravens by like 3 points just to make it round, but it could be less than that, man. I think it's going to be a really, really close game, and I can't wait, man. This is the game I've got circled for week one, dude. I'm pumped.
Dude, are Ravens-Bills flipping? Like you and I being on the opposite side of things with the Ravens and the Bills. I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. You have the Bills winning the Super Bowl. I have Josh winning MVP. Yep. You have Lamar winning MVP. You have the Ravens winning this game. I have the Bills winning this game. Honestly, I think I would just take whoever's at home to win this football game. Like, sometimes it really is that simple. The Bills are an unbelievable football team at home. And last year, how did it go? These teams split their meetings. The home team won both times. Bills didn't lose at home last year, regular season or playoffs. They were 10-0. They are 42-9 at home since 2020, Logan. That is the best home record in the NFL. It's insane. They've won 82.4% of their home games. Third best in the NFL is Green Bay at 71.1%. The gap between Buffalo and Kansas City compared to everybody else is absolutely massive. So I do think that's a meaningful factor here. And you laid out some of the key components of the actual football mechanics of this game, like big keys for Buffalo. Can they keep the run game in check? I can't even use the phrase stop the run. Can they keep it reasonable? Can they stop the bleeding? Because where things went haywire in their regular season meeting last year is they got absolutely destroyed on the ground. I mean, you have the Derrick Henry 90-yard run. Baltimore ran for 270 plus yards on the ground. And then in the playoff meeting, yes, turnovers were absolutely a part of it. The Bills playing a much cleaner football game, but also they were able to, in the first half especially, contain the run to a reasonable extent. And that is a question with this team. The run defense was up and down last year, so we'll see. That's going to be a big swing factor for them. Can they force 1 to 2 turnovers? Because that's really where they won the playoff game, and they had a couple favors done for them there, but also people always talk about turnover regression, right? And generally it is true that super high turnover numbers for a defense can be an indicator that, okay, they're probably going to come down to earth this next year. It just can be unreliable. There can be a lot of variance there. I believe this is the 5th straight year that the Bills were top 3 in takeaways. So you know what you're getting. This is a defense that forces turnovers. That is a huge part of their equation. And so that's always going to be a key factor for them in a high-stakes matchup against an elite offense like this. And the biggest factor, honestly, and the thing that makes me hesitate maybe most about picking the Bills to win this game, is their secondary not in absolute shambles? Because already the reason that I'm taking Baltimore to win the Super Bowl over the Bills is just because I think that Baltimore defense is more elite. It's more solid at every level, every position group. I'm already really worried about safety for the Bills. Very, very concerned. But now, if you just look at the injury report, man, obviously Max Hairston, first-round pick, is out. He's on the IR. But also for this week, Trey White and Christian Benford, both questionable. If those guys don't play, yikes. I don't know if I could stick with the Bills pick. Maybe I will, just for the vibes, just for positive vibes in week 1, but that would be very, very concerning. And then also, to some extent, it probably comes down to which wide receivers make plays. Because I have the utmost confidence in both these quarterbacks, honestly. Even though, again, Lamar did make some bad mistakes last year, when he locked in, he was able to move the football against this Bills team and really did so in the second half. And Josh, I just think, has set such a ridiculously high bar for himself. I expect him to ball out every single week. I expect that from both of these guys. But you do look at the absence of Zay Flowers for Baltimore in that playoff game. Mark Andrews, obviously, costly mistake. It may just come down to something like that. And on the flip side of that, the Bills don't have high-end receiver talent, but when people bring that up as a criticism, I tend to think it's very overstated because the Bills last year averaged 31 points per game. They were incredible on 3rd down and 4th down and in the red zone. They've got a really good offensive line. They've got a really good run game. They have a superhero at quarterback who is so great at elevating all those guys around them and is so impactful in the run game that it's never prevented them from being an absolute elite offense. And in my opinion, I would say the best offense in football, the offense that I would most like going into this season. But specifically against the Ravens, who have such sticky coverage and that secondary is so elite, in their meetings last year, the Bills' passing attack was not as potent because the receivers literally just could not get separation and they could not make plays. So I do think that's worth flagging here, at least, specifically in this matchup. But overall, I think both quarterbacks are so great at elevating their offenses. They're, to me, 2 of the absolute best regular season offensive engines that we've ever seen. And I think that they're both going to do their jobs at a very high level and elevate their offenses to a very high level in this matchup as they do throughout the entire season. So all things considered, I do think these are 2 quite even football teams. I do give Baltimore the slight edge overall because of the difference in defense. I slightly prefer the Bills' offense, but I think that they're both going to be phenomenal on that side of the ball. I'm going to take the Bills because they are just so stellar at home, and I'm going to say they come out and they get a very, very nice Week 1 win. Let's move to the final primetime game, Logan. Monday Night Football. We've got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to face the Chicago Bears. What's your prediction here, and what are some keys?
There's a lot I'm excited to look at in this football game. One, the Chicago Bears offense I'm excited to take a look at with the improvements they've made in the offensive line. Caleb Williams, year 2. The wideouts, they've got Luther Burden in there now. What does Adunze do this year? DJ Moore. I think there's a lot to be intrigued by with this Chicago offense. And so I'm excited to see Caleb Williams in year 2, what he looks like. On the flip side of this, how does J.J. McCarthy look like in his professional debut? This is a loaded Vikings roster. If McCarthy does his job and can manage football games, this is a team that is talented enough to win double-digit games again, even in a uber-competitive NFC North. And so I don't have a lot of questions about Minnesota. That's what's crazy about this team is I feel like I have known commodities. This is a Pro Bowl to all-pro level defense. I mean, they are stacked. Ivan Pace, Andrew Van Ginkel, the front lines, every player is awesome on this defense. And then Brian Flores always knows what to scheme up, what to do. Really, to me, it all comes down to really J.J. McCarthy and what he looks like because there is tremendous offensive infrastructure here. We talked about this all last year, Carson. Sam Darnold was maximized in this offense with all of the talent around him. Aaron Jones and now Jordan Mason in the backfield. Out wide, having Jettas and having Jordan Addison and Hawkinson to get the ball out to. An awesome offensive line. You are going to look your best in Minnesota. It was true for Sam Darnold, right?
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell is just going to squeeze everything he can get out of his quarterback. What is everything that J.J. McCarthy has got? And I'm not even looking for him to go above and beyond in this game. And I don't think J.J. McCarthy needs to go above and beyond this season. Like I said, I think he needs to limit mistakes. I think he needs to keep Minnesota ahead of the sticks. And he just needs to execute. He doesn't need to do anything crazy. If McCarthy can do that, I think the Vikings can win some games this year. That's why it makes me his inexperience, though, is what makes me afraid of picking the Vikings in this game. That being said, I'm going to take Minnesota to win this game in Chicago. I'm just going to take the more talented football team. I think Minnesota is better top to bottom. And I just wonder if there's still a little bit of year 2 growing pains with Caleb. Maybe he makes a mistake. But I can't say I'm super confident in this pick just because I'm not super confident in the quarterback that I'm betting on. So McCarthy makes me nervous, but I'm still going to bet on the better team, and I still think the better team is Minnesota. So give me the Vikes.
JJ makes me nervous, man. He does. Now, I think that you said it all, right? This is the ideal situation to be dropped into as a quarterback with 0 previous career starts, 0 previous career regular season NFL snaps, because the offensive infrastructure is so good, the play calling so great, the receiving core is so good, they have the identity to run the ball. But nevertheless, man, I just kind of have a feeling of nervousness about this game for J.J. McCarthy. We're also not sure if Darrison Harrison Smith are going to play. That's at least worth tracking, those guys' availability. I do think the Vikings are clearly the better team, but this does feel like a potential huge game for Chicago to really set the tone with everything that they want to set the tone with, right? And come out and have a statement performance at home where they actually were a lot better than they were on the road last year. They won their first 4 home games. Got a lot worse after that because everything got a lot worse after their start to the year. But they were more successful there, more comfortable there. And obviously, so many changes this offseason, significantly upgraded offensive line, hope to run the ball a lot better with those guys up front, with Ben Johnson, who has obviously been in charge of one of the most effective run games in football over the last couple years in Detroit. You've got upgraded pass catchers. You mentioned the additions, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland. You've got Ben Johnson calling plays now, who's one of the great offensive minds in football. You've got a year of experience under Caleb's belt and now an offseason with this new system, new personnel, new coach. Can you catch the Vikings offense before they're really in rhythm, before McCarthy is comfortable? I think so, but also, I think about how much Caleb Williams struggled versus the blitz and versus pressure last year. That's where things could get really chaotic, and he just held onto the ball for too long, and he took so many sacks. I think he was like 26th to 28th in EPA per drop back in both those categories versus the blitz and under pressure. That's out of 35 qualified quarterbacks. So not good. Not good there. And this is a scary matchup for that because you are facing a hellacious pass rush, great overall defense, a psycho in Brian Flores who is going to dial up the pressure. You know that. And so that does scare me. But the infrastructure is there now to give him much better support than he had last year. And I'm not somebody who's all in on the Bears taking a big leap, right? I still actually have them finishing last in this division, but I do think they're going to be a lot better than last year. It's just this division is still really hard. It's not going to happen all at once, but I do feel like in some ways they might actually be a little bit ahead of the Vikings very early in the season at home because of the JJ component being in flux. And honestly, man, kind of just a gut feeling. I'm taking Chicago to win this game. I think Minnesota's better. I think Chicago gets this one head-to-head. So those are really the premier matchups of the week. Now we will breeze through the rest of our picks. Let's start with your Steelers, Logan, traveling to play the New York Jets. Who are you taking here?
Nasty fucking game.
Rivalry, revenge game, quarterback swap game. You got to love it.
This is going to be such a funky game. I can already tell you it's going to be like 13-17. Whoever wins
that sounds
it.
high scoring, honestly. I thought you were
For a
say
Steelers game, for sure.
Steelers Jets, yeah.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh. I'm not going to bet against the Steelers week one. I don't know. I really think it's going to come down to how Justin Fields looks, offensively for the Jets, if they can buy him time. Elijah Vera Tucker, it's rumored, could miss significant time again this season with another injury. Can they keep Fields upright? Can he get the ball to guys? I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about him in this new system, especially dealing with that toe injury. And then for the Steelers, kind of the same thing, man. Can they protect Aaron Rodgers? I've been saying it all year, all offseason. The offensive line is going to determine everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year because Rodgers is so immobile. Fields was a guy that could mitigate some of the pressure they could get home with a bad offensive line. Rodgers isn't that guy, and there are some questions. Broderick Jones is now slotted over at left tackle. Fontenot is back healthy and is finally going to start and hopefully give us the full year. The offensive line is what I would keep an eye on. I'm optimistic that they'll be able to do good enough to put up enough points to eke out a win against the grimy Jets. Steelers win a stinky-ass football game.
Yeah, grimy is really the word here. I think in a couple ways, these teams really hang their hats on the same things, right? Obviously, defense comes first for both. I think that Aaron Glenn has taken a very business-like approach in trying to sort of build out a more serious football culture in New York so far, and obviously he's a defensive mind. And offensively, both very limited. I think with the Jets, obviously it's going to be more about the run game for them just because of what Fields can do with his legs, but I think that passing attack is going to be very limited because of Fields' major limitations there as a processor, as a drop-back passer.
He's basically said they're playing that boa constrictor ball control football. It's going to be Fields, Breece Hall,
Let's see the wing tee. Let's see
Braylon
a
Allen
offense.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. And if anybody could do it, it'd be the Jets. But, like, man, if you look at the pass catchers outside of Garrett Wilson, I just think this offense is going to be so bad. And I still do like Aaron Rodgers more than Fields. I still do think just as a processor of the game, even having lost some of the zip on his arm, as an arm talent, he's got better pass catchers to throw to. Like, this is such a mid-off, but at the end of the day, I do clearly like the Steelers more in terms of the things that they do well. This could be a 14-9 kind of game, but I'm definitely going to take Pittsburgh. Dolphins traveling to play the Colts, Logan.
I'm not betting on Daniel Jones to win a game. Give me Tua inside the dome.
Yeah, I agree, man. I am just so low on Daniel Jones that I also think Miami's offense is going to take a bit of a bounce back, presuming that they can be healthy. I think that defense has some talent. I think that Miami is solid, and I think that the Colts have a disaster waiting to happen at quarterback that they've somehow convinced themselves is competent, even though we have seen for years that he is anything but. We've got the Giants traveling to face the Commanders. Logan, your Super Bowl representative from the NFC, the Washington Commanders. What's your pick here?
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels puts it on them. I am really interested to see what this defensive line looks like for the Giants in a lot of different facets, not just how impactful they are, which is important, but the stagger. You know, how often are we seeing everybody out there together? What do the rotations look like up front? You know, how fresh are they? And really just how much pressure they can exert on Jaden. So I honestly think this is probably a decently high-scoring game, kind of all Commanders games are. I figure Russ might connect on a few moon balls with Malik Neighbors. So I'm going to take the Commanders. I think both teams eclipse 20 points, but I think Jaden just puts up more. I think the Commanders' offense gets rolling in week one, and Russ probably throws a costly interception or something. So give me the Commanders at home.
Upset of the week alert, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking the Giants to win this football game. I think the Giants' defense is awesome. I think they're going to get a lot of pressure up front, and then I do really, really worry about Washington's defense. I'm not going to dress the Giants' offense up to be more than it is, but that offensive line is solid. I think Tyrone Tracy is a pretty good running back. I think that they have an elite wide receiver one in Malik Neighbors, and I think there's a lot of vulnerabilities with Washington where they really struggled to stop the run. I really worry about their secondary. They don't have that impact pass rusher, and you mentioned the moonball potential. Can you get a couple of big vertical passing plays? Can you consistently move the ball on the ground? And then can you defensively, right, get a few sacks, force a couple turnovers? I think the Giants have the potential to do those things. I don't think they're going to be a fun team to play this year. I don't think they're going to be legitimately good, but I think Washington has some holes that are so significant defensively that the Giants can have a solid enough offensive day, and then I think their defense will generate enough stops to get a big upset here. Any reaction from you, Logan? I know you're all in on those commies. You can call me Joseph McCarthy. I'm out on the commies. Big time.
Yeah, you go see.
Okay. We'll see. Cardinals traveling to face the Saints.
I'm not betting on Spencer Rattler.
The people should know that I am actually all in emotionally on Spencer Rattler this year. He's my quarterback in our 32-team fantasy league, the Spawn Hour Run League. He was the only starting quarterback left. And actually, at the time, it hadn't even been announced if he or Tyler Shuck was going to be starting, so I had to make a gamble, Logan. And I at least got a starting quarterback. That being said, I do think that he's terrible, and I think that the Saints are terrible, and I'm going to take the Cardinals to win this game. Panthers traveling to play the Jags. Battle of big cats here, Logan. Who do you like?
Yeah, battle of the number one picks, too. But between Bryce Young and Trevor Lawrence, I'm excited to see what we get out of both these quarterbacks. Some new
battle
targets.
Of former Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinators, too.
True. Dave Canales, Liam Cohen. Shout out. I'm going to bet on who I think is the better of both of the tandems. I'm going to bet on the Jaguars. I'm betting on T-Law and Liam Cohen both. Some new pass catchers for both of these groups. Travis Hunter now with Jacksonville. Tet McMillan in with the Panthers. I'm excited to see how those guys look with their franchise QBs. But I think the Jaguars offense, I'm excited to see what Liam Cohen and them can cook up with Trevor Lawrence finally having a competent offensive coordinator. And I read a report the other day, pretty funny. I think it was
Cohen named sexiest man alive by people.
There was one of the defensive coordinators, and they were like, Liam Cohen kept me up at night. Like that guy's a freak. He literally he was talking about having PTSD from having to play against Liam Cohen. So yeah, I don't know. It's got me a little bit fired up about Jacksonville. I don't like either of these defenses that much. That's what kind of makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm hoping for fireworks from one of these offenses. Just something encouraging to write home about.
Yeah, it feels like this is a sneaky fun game on the slate, just with how the Panthers offense picked up form late last year, where they were very solid towards the end of the season. And then obviously this overhauled Jags group. You mentioned both teams bringing in an elite rookie receiver talent. The all-powerful Liam Cohen coming into the fold, my pick for Coach of the Year. I'm excited. That being said, I'm going to take the Jags, and I'll flag this one as maybe a potential blowout of the week. I just think the Jags could easily hang 35 on this team. I still think the Panthers' defense is one of the absolute worst in football. That's why I know there's a lot of people who are optimistic. They're higher on the Panthers this year. With the offense, I can see it. The defense, I still think, is pretty abysmal. And I think Liam Cohen is going to get the most out of the talent here. I think the run game will be more effective. I think he will get us the best version of Trevor Lawrence that we've seen, who still has so many tools and traits, and now is going to have a better group of pass catchers, better offensive mind. I'm all in on the Jags this year. I have them going to the playoffs, and I think they set the tone with a big week 1, convincing home win. This is a big divisional game, Logan. The Bucs traveling to play the Falcons with some significant injuries to start the year. Chris Godwin out, Tristan Wirfs out. Now Vita Vea not practicing. We'll see what his status is. Who do you like here?
Those absences are a pretty big deal. This is like a 50-50 to me. Normally when I'm 50-50, I'm going to take the home team. So I think Atlanta comes out. I think they're rowdy. And I think it's going to be really close. Like, this could come down to the last drive. But I ultimately have the Falcons winning this division. They're at home. So I'm going to take them to get a leg up on Tampa Bay in week 1. And they take it home. But I think it's going to be really competitive.
The injuries concern me here, but I'm really in on the Bucs this year, so I am going to take them to win this game. I just like their offensive formula more still, even without Wirfs. I think the balance they do have between the run game and the passing game, even without Godwin, because now they've got Ibuka coming in, like, just a very, very loaded offense overall. I think at full strength, the most stacked kind of position to position in football right now. I don't feel that way about the Falcons. I still have some more questions about what their passing attack looks like. Defensively, I think that these teams are comparable. It'll be interesting to see how much the Falcons really have figured things out at edge. So I definitely do expect this to be a close game because of the injuries to the Bucs, but I still like them to go out there and get a road win here. I'll bet on your boy Baker, Logan. I could see this actually being a Baker game-winning drive kind of game. Big, he puts his nuts on the table, maybe shakes a sack, makes a big throw downfield. I know you can see it right now. You can see it in your head, and
It's got me aroused.
Camera below the waist. Yep.
No, you don't, please.
Okay, Bengals going to play the Browns. What's your pick?
I'm gonna take Joe Burrow to beat Joe Flacco.
Okay, I agree. Raiders traveling to play the Patriots.
This one's interesting. I'm intrigued by both of these teams, man. You know, coaching staff overhauls. We've got Vrabel in New England. We got Pete Carroll in Vegas. I am going to take the Patriots for one reason and basically one reason only. Green Light Pod with Chris Long did a really good job on finding this, but they found that Geno Smith is way better in domes and in stadiums that are indoors, and so based off of that information, it's like he has a passer rating of like 110 in domes. He has a passer rating, I think, of like 81 when he's outside, and so just based off that, I'm gonna take the Patriots to win. I do think the offense is gonna look better. Drake May with Stephon Diggs.
Jarvis, cut that
now.
stat, by the way. Cut that stat. That was kind of negative towards Geno when it comes to playing outdoors. So Jarvis, cut that. Thank you.
I don't want it to be true. I wish Geno was just the greatest quarterback of all time every week.
Jarvis, kick Logan off the pod. Jarvis, send Logan into the alligator pit.
Jarvis, give me 5 on pump
Jarvis,
7.
why is he still here? Jarvis, take his hat off and expose his bald head.
All right, dude, chill out, bro. That's just mean. I think Drake May and Stephon Diggs light it up week 1. I think this is kind of going to be a high-scoring game, man. I think these teams put up some points, 20+. But give me Drake May. Give me Drake May outdoors.
I am going to take outdoors Geno Smith to win this game all the same.
Jarvis, make Carson strip naked.
What's happening? No, you guys have to pay for that. That's behind a paywall. I am taking the Patriots to go to the playoffs this year, so I'm in on them. But I do think as football teams, these two are very comparable. It's just one of them has to deal with a hellacious schedule in the Raiders. One of them has a total cupcake schedule in the Patriots. That being said, I kind of see Geno and this Raiders offense coming out firing. I'm very excited for Genty. I like the pass catchers here. And I'm a big Geno believer. So this is pretty much a toss-up for me. I'm going to take the Raiders to get an upset, though, just because I have them winding up at 8 wins. I have the Patriots winding up at 9, if I remember correctly. And I think that there's more opportunities for the Patriots to steal some easy wins later in the schedule, whereas the Raiders, not so much. So I'll take them here. How about Niners traveling to play the Seahawks, Logan? Who do you like?
I'm going to take the Niners in this one. I thought the Niners had a really down year last year, not in just terms of how they finished out, but I mean, just sold some games late. I know a lot of people are lower on them, considering that Deebo Samuel's gone. Ayuk is going to miss this game. I still expect this offense, and McCaffrey. McCaffrey's probably the bigger one. They're saying that he's dealing with a calf injury again, which is just incredibly ironic and a little bit sad. It's ironic just because it seems like every year, week 1, McCaffrey's dealing with something again, right? And so that could determine it. Ultimately, I have a ton of faith in Kyle Shanahan and this offense and their ability to scheme up. Like, if there's a coach that I'm going to bet on to produce, no matter the offensive circumstance, like Shanahan's one of those guys. So I'm high on Jawan Jennings. I'm high on Ricky Pearsall. They've still got George Kittle, still got Big Trent. Like, there's still enough talent here where I think the Niners are going to have a solid season, and I am worried about Darnold behind that offensive line. So I'm going to take the Niners to get it done in Seattle.
I'm going to take the Niners as well. I do just like them more. I think that their offensive formula, to me, is a lot steadier. I think that, like, when they have reasonable health, even last year, right? I think that the offense got too much flack for what was wrong there, and that was without CMC. That was with injuries to the offensive line and the receivers, and just injuries basically everywhere, and yet they still ended the year 11th in points per drive. The problem was that defensively, they were a disaster, and you're definitely relying on coaching to lead to a defensive improvement, because they did lose talent defensively, even though it was basically all guys who were hurt and didn't play last year anyways. But I do like Saleh, and I think Bosa against this Seahawks offensive line and against Sam Darnold could be problematic. And ultimately, I just think the Niners are going to be able to move the ball on the ground more consistently. They're going to scheme up more easy completions, and I just think that they're going to be more productive on that side of the ball throughout the entire season. The Seahawks defense is very good. They definitely have an advantage there, but I think that my offensive confidence in the Niners compared to some of the major questions I do have about, okay, how do the Seahawks run the ball? How are they protecting? How does Darnold deal with this situation where there's going to be a lot of pressure on him? We've seen him have a major issue with taking sacks. What does that receiving room look like now without DK? Just more questions about Seattle, and I'm not really high on them this year whatsoever. I'm lower than the consensus for sure. Last game on the slate, Logan. Titans traveling to play the Broncos. What's your pick here?
I think this is a really messed up thing to do to Cam Ward in his professional debut.
It is,
to
dude.
Make him play.
And by the way, it doesn't get better from here for a while. It can't get worse than the Broncos, but their opening schedule is brutal. Next up is the Rams. That's an insane pass rush. Then Colts, not as bad. Then the Texans. So he's facing, 3 of the best pass rushes in football in the first 4 weeks. That's not fun.
And teams that don't have bad secondaries either, man. It's
especially the Texans and the Broncos.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Probably
the
two
Broncos
best pass rush secondary combos in football.
Yeah, Broncos had multiple All-Pros last year. Multiple DPOY candidates. They got better. They added talent. This is a no-brainer team that's going to be a top 5 defense, and so I just think that's a lot to ask for a guy in his first game to overcome. So I'm going to take the Broncos at home, and it's in Denver. It's at home. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, this is obviously an easy Broncos win. This could be a blowout, but my hope is that we just get the experience of seeing Cam try to throw them back into a football game. Maybe Denver gets up by so much they let up a little bit with the pass rush, and we get to see Cam a little bit more comfortable. I don't know. We'll see. I think that Denver is the much better football team, and I think that they are definitely going to win this game. And if they don't, I would be really surprised, and that would probably require some Cam Ward heroics, maybe a little bit of a Bo Nix disaster class. I don't know. We'll see, but I'm definitely not expecting it. I think Denver wins this one easily. What a time to be alive, Logan. Football is back. You can feel it in the air. You can smell it. And I love it. I cannot wait for a Megapod Sunday night, which we will do live, and we hope that all you guys join us, because we hope you're just as fired up about this as we are. Enjoy the game tonight. enjoy the weekend of football. If you got a little time, maybe enjoy some U.S. Open tennis. There was just 2 incredible women's semifinals, Logan. Yesterday, we've got some incredible men's semifinals. Today, finals Saturday and Sunday. Saturday for the women, Sunday for the men. Just saying, if you got time on your sports watching calendar, something to maybe check out. Will you watch it, Logan? No, you won't. No, you won't.
I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be grinding bocce tape, bro.
Bocce ball?
Yeah.
Well, where do you even find something like that? Do you have a premium service?
Don't worry about it.
Is there an all-22 for that?
Don't worry about it.
I'm watching me,
and I'm gambling on professional bocce ball and Japanese baseball.
Okay, well, that sounds healthy, and I hope that you enjoy it. We will see you guys Sunday night. If you want more of our content, you know where to find it all across our YouTube channel. We've got all of our NBA content, NFL content, trivia stuff, historical, current. It's all there, baby. You can listen to the pod across all audio platforms, and you can follow us across social, TikTok, Instagram @NerdSesh, Twitter @Nerd_Sesh. We got trivia stuff there. We got takes. We got clips from the show. We got graphics. All of our NFL preseason predictions are laid out on beautiful graphics that you can find there. And if you want, you can also join our Discord. That is linked at the link tree across our social media bios. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. Enjoy the football. I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.